Hi everybody, Andrew here. This is a video about the main audio rack in the sanctuary. Now, I'm not talking about this one here up on the platform, this beautiful thing that Josh built and Rob and Scott and Josh and I all put together and configured. Not talking about this one. No, there's no reason to talk about that one because sound guys know everything about that one. No, I'm talking about the one on the mez in the closet, the second closet from the right when you're looking at the back wall. So this guy over here, that rack. So to understand this rack a little better, let's first turn it on. And you turn it on over here. Downstairs we have a key. Up here we have just a knob, since it's already locked up here. And you wait for the second light to come up, and while that's happening, this is sequencing on. That's the juice goose. There we go. And then when it's all done, you've got the two lights right there. Okay. So let's just look at this from the top down. Right here we've got a QSC amplifier that's used for the ceiling speakers out in the cafe and in the loft. So here's one of those cafe ceiling speakers. And the control for that is right here behind the wall at the cafe. And here we have one of those speakers in the ceiling in the loft, and the control for that is right over here on the corner wall. All of those ceiling speakers were installed by ALSS. Actually, this whole sound system was installed by ALSS in Manchester. Okay, so that was the ceiling speaker amp. Next, we have this control. It's the same as the one on the remote system downstairs. This determines what the remote system controls. It can control nothing, none, everything, both the cafe and the sanctuary, or it can control just the cafe, which we're using the old word narthex for that. So the way you set it is you go to what you want, and then you press menu to lock it in. This does not affect, or this does not determine what the mez does just because it's up on the mez. This is determining what the remote system does, whether you do it here or downstairs in the cafe. Next, down here, this Symmetrix SimNet audio matrix. This is a DSP unit that takes different inputs in, namely the main board in the sanctuary and the remote system, and then directs it to different outputs, which are all these different amps. All right. Now, this needs to be configured, if it ever does need to be changed, by ALSS. The manufacturer only allows certified people to do this. Now, they did make an exception for me, and I did make one change by myself. There's an icon programming program on this computer over here. You have to hook up DB9 RS-232 to the back of the unit, and then run software on here. There's a password that they gave me. It's already entered, and so you can do icon programming. What I did was I put in compressors for the cafe speakers, not the ceiling ones, but the ones on the wall. It was actually pretty straightforward, but I wouldn't even bother learning how to do that kind of stuff. Just ask ALSS to do that in the future. We won't need it very often. It'll be well worth the money. So that is the audio matrix, which I call the brain. This is a chart of the numbering of the different speakers compared to these output numbers here. And then we have the subwoofer amplifiers. There's a separate amp for each subwoofer. There's two subwoofers, and you see here this is lit up because it's bridged, which means that this is a stereo unit, but it's only connected on one side, and all the power from both channels is going out that one side. That's what bridging means, and this one's bridged too. So the whole amp is driving the subwoofer, which makes sense. It needs that kind of power. Now, on the other hand, these three guys are amps for the speakers that are hanging. Those guys there. And you see that there's 5 of them. So you have the ones that are actually right underneath the beams, the ones just inside of that, and then the main one there. And so those different positions, and it's labeled here, are you know what those 3 are for. And then we have these monitor amps, left and right are 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and those are for the speak-on connectors that come out of the wall down on the platform. Those are here on the wall behind the drum cage. Those are these speak-on outputs here. They are what are referred to as tie 1, tie 2, tie 3, tie 4. So here in the Sanctuary Sound Closet, we have these monitors that use those speak-on connectors. Now, we don't really use those. We don't really use those monitors anymore because we have 16 auxiliaries going to in-ear systems. We don't use floor wedges really at all, and when we do, it's easier to just hook up a powered monitor instead of one of these speak-on monitors, because we can feed it directly from the amp on the platform. But if you did want to use them, you would have to connect these cables, monitor 1, 2, 3, and 4, to feed those amps, which would then send stuff down to those speak-on connectors in the wall. And finally, on the bottom, this is the amp for the speakers on the wall in the cafe. These speakers here. So that's pretty much it. Just a few more words about things that we could do to improve stuff on this system. One of our main problems is that we really can't hear what's going on in the cafe. So we want people in the cafe to have control over it. So it would be great here on the remote system to add another control that's just a volume knob that tells the brain to send more or less volume out to the cafe. ALSS could do that for us. And since we don't have that, we keep this iPod back here. It can play music, but also it has the QMix program on it, so you can actually do the mix of the cafe out here. And we've shown the ushers how to use that, but pretty much the audio guys have to do it. Okay, so that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, let me know, or ask one of the sound guys, or call ALSS. See ya.